Second of 3 pre-tournament games for Canada, and the second of 2 games here in this arena today. And Canada with an unusual lineup as Aaron Ekblad, the defenseman, lines up at right wing, and Josh Anderson, the forward, went for the blue line, so a little different wrinkle from Brent Sutter there, and things are underway with Canada in red. And as James mentioned, one more Canadian player will be cut, likely after this game. And the Swedes have still 26 skaters in their camp, so they've got more cuts to make as well.
Playing today without Elias Lindholm of the Carolina Hurricanes, who has just gotten here, and Philip Forsberg from the Nashville Predators. Those two players, two top-end players, will join Sweden for the start of the tournament.
Sebastian Kohlberg, the Montreal second-round pick, fires it into this line of Jonsson, Venberg, and Kohlberg. Did the damage against Team USA in the pre-tournament game here on Friday night. Sam Reinhart moves it ahead, so Reinhart, Horvat, and McDavid get an early shift for Canada. And the puck is scooped up by Jacob Delarose, number 9. He's a Montreal second-round pick as well in 2013. Andre Burakovsky plays that ahead. Burakovsky caused a bit of a wave here when he had some comments to a local newspaper in Erie translator, where he said that he thought Sweden was better than Canada on paper. He since retracted those and said it was a bad translation. And now Burakovsky works his way in, the puck dribbles down in front, and that's knocked away by the Canadian.
Very talented player, plays with Connor McDavid in Erie. Loves to shoot the puck.
Matt Dumba, who scored for Canada in that game against Finland on Friday, plays it down.
Also had a meeting with Brent Sutter yesterday about,
yes, he did,
about his up-and-down play in Game 1, and Sutter mentioned that it was pretty clear Dumba hadn't played in a while. Hasn't played very much with the Minnesota Wild this season, and had been scratched 4 or 11 of the previous 15 games. So these pre-tournament games are very important for Matthew Dumba.
And not the first time he's had a meeting with Brent Sutter. He played for him in Red Deer. Now a centering pass, and there's Jonathan Drouin with his first shift of the game, as Drouin draws back in for Canada. He's been very careful with his health. Drouin injured in early December while playing for Halifax in the Quebec Major Junior League, suffered a concussion, but cleared to go and back out there tonight, playing with Nick Petan and Curtis Lazar. With a long shot by Edvin Hedberg, and a glove saved by Jake Patterson.
50 points in 23 games in the Quebec League for Jonathan Drouin this year prior to his injury, and Drouin's creativeness will be welcomed by Team Canada. Don't forget, he has not played in about 3 weeks or so. So, like Dumba, who had played infrequently, these games become very important for Drouin to get his legs back underneath him.
Off the face-off win, Aaron Ekblad looks ahead for Anthony Mantha. That pass out of his reach, and Mantha, you'd have to think, cemented his spot in the lineup with his performance in that pre-tournament game. You see Jonathan Drouin on the Canadian bench. Mantha scored against the Finns, and Hunter Shinkaruk was cut after the game for Canada, so the forward unit is set.
I would say it comes down to either Charles Hudon or Felix Gerard for that last spot, that 13th forward spot, as we get our first look at Jake Patterson.
So Jake Patterson was a member of the Canadian national junior team last year, did not dress for any games. He was the 3rd goaltender in Ufa, Russia.
I thought he had the best of the training camps of the goaltenders last year for Canada. Was there as the 3rd guy, as you mentioned, and he'll get his chance to play following up the performance yesterday of Zach Fucale. Fucale had a tough start in the first period. I thought he really settled down after that and was quite good for the remaining 40 minutes.
Kohlberg swings that pass across for Christian Djoos, who was almost picked off by Hudon. Now a chance in front, just out of the reach of Andreas Jonsson, who scored twice against the U.S. on Friday. So all 3 members of this forward line race scored for the Swedes against the U.S.
Very talented group.
Now off the bench comes Andre Burakovsky. Couldn't get the shot away. And that long drive from Robert Hug swings wide of the goal. Hudon flips it way up in the air. A very low clock here in Ängelholm. You think it might come into play a couple of times with pucks hitting it. Hasn't yet.
Well, you talked about
much more effective.
Oh, the Zamboni is well, he got around the ice this time in pregame.
Stalled before the U.S.-Finland game again. Left another trench in the ice as it did on Friday night. The Swedes, though, are blaming that on the Finns. It's a Finnish-made ice resurfacer. Gauthier throws that down in the Swedish zone. And De La Rose leaves it in behind the goal. Moved ahead now by Lucas Wallmark. And back comes Chris Bigra for Canada. Across to Matt Dumba. Dumba's CHL rights traded by Brent Sutter from Red Deer to Portland. And there's a chance that Dumba will go back to Portland when this tournament is over.
Canada's using their 7 defensemen that they'll play in the tournament. They're going to rotate Griffin Reinhart and Adam Pelech on that third pairing along with Josh Morrissey. They'll play their top 4 and keep them together as they'll be. Now, don't forget Reinhart scratched in the first 3 games as he has a suspension to serve. As you can see, Sweden pretty quick on the draw here in the first couple of tries. Through it, that's Venberg, the talented forward, one of Columbus's 3 first-round draft picks in last June's draft.
Now the pass to the wide side of the ice to Anton Carlson. Carlson and his brother Eric playing on the Swedish national junior team. Both hopefuls to make it. Both play for Frölunda in what is now known as the Swedish Hockey League, the former Swedish Elite League. They like to change the name every few years just to kind of keep us on our toes. And now the drop pass to Bistrom with a shot. Patterson makes the save up high with Ludvig Nilsson right on top of him.
Good pace for the Swedes early in the game. The puck has been in Canada's zone most of it. When they've attacked through the middle of the ice, their puck movement is quite evident. Nice play by Sandberg in the middle of the ice to create some space. Now Bistrom gets out wide and cuts his own angle off a nice stop, but what is impressive for Jake Patterson, and I'm sure makes him feel more comfortable, is each time the puck has hit him in the early going, it's hit him and stuck to him. He's had a nice start.
Big line back out there for the Swedes. And now Lazar shown out, so Patan will step in, and again you see the effect of Canada having so many centers in the forward group. 9 of these Canadian 12 forwards are at least part-time centers. There's a shot whistled high and wide by Kohlberg. Now Jonsson works into the side of the goal. It's kicked away by Ekblad, who lost his balance. And Lazar couldn't knock it out. Drop back to Kohlberg. Spins and shoots. It goes wide. And now Jonsson back on it for the Swedes. A rolling puck as they're changing in the offensive zone.
Lord, we saw in the first game that line, Kohlberg and Wenstrom and Jonsson score all of their goals. Imagine the Swedish depth up front when they get Forsberg and Lindholm back. There will be a formidable opponent for anyone in this tournament.
And a long drive by Robin Norell, a Chicago draft pick. That's kicked away. And the Swedes with good early pressure here in the first period. Now Norell being chased down by Anthony Mantha. Mantha all over Norell. Turns and fires that back down to the Canadian zone. Now Burakovsky with it. Rolled off his stick, and Aaron Ekblad waits for it. Bangs it off the boards and down the ice. That'll be icing call against Canada.
Those skilled Swedish forwards, that top line that we just talked about, are really good on the cycle. Now watch Sebastian Kohlberg get lost in the top of the circle. Jonathan Drouin thinks he should be there, and then he reads that it might go to the point, so he steps away. The puck goes to Kohlberg, and he rifles it over the net. And just a play like that shows a little bit of the rust that is felt by a player like Drouin when you're out of the lineup for a bit. The reads come a little slower to you than they might if you're playing all the time.
Good chance for the Swedes there, and Jake Patterson got a glove on that. Now Lawton comes in on the forecheck, the Canadian captain. He forces Gustav Olofsson to pivot back. Olofsson plays for Colorado College in the NCAA. He too has his CHL rights owned by the Portland Winterhawks. And there's a lot of talk that you might see Olofsson, who's also a Minnesota draft pick, playing with Matt Dumba, who just slammed him into the sideboards in Portland.
And Nick Patan, who's there.
Yeah. And now we got a Swedish player, Anton Carlson, knocked down, and a penalty coming to Canada when we come back.
The dangerous Swedish power play is going to get their first opportunity as Chris Bigra gets called for tripping here. Scored a couple of power play goals. Johansson did against the Americans in their first pre-tournament game.
Back at the point is Christian Juice with a long wrist shot. Patterson gloves it. Looked the other way, and the puck trickled just wide. Now Juice can't hold the line as he had Anderson bearing down on him. Gauthier leaves it to Ekblad, and Ekblad fires it down the ice.
Ekblad shaken up a little bit on that initial point shot. He blocked it. It caught him right on the crest, where you don't have much or any padding underneath your jersey, and trying to catch his breath at the bench.
Christian Juice to Lucas Wallmark. And now drop back to Juice, the son of former NHLer Per Juice. And Andreas Janssen on it. Kohlberg had it knocked away from him and cleared to the line and out by Bo Horvat. Big wide pass to Venberg, takes it away from Horvat. And now the Swedes changing. Venberg buying some time across to Juice. Andre Burakovsky, Washington first-round pick in last summer's draft, sends that puck ahead, and in comes Sorensen with a shot he fired wide. Now Olofsson leaves it there for Burakovsky. Back to Olofsson. That wrist shot was blocked by Lazar, and the puck comes out. Phyllis Lazar back in the Canadian lineup after not playing in the game on Friday against Finland. Plays for Edmonton in the Western Hockey League. First-round pick of Ottawa won the 2013 draft. There's a big hit behind the net by Griffin Reinhart. And now Burakovsky with a long shot. That deflected just wide. And stepping up is Lucas Bengtsson. Now a centering pass that's fired wide by Jacob Delarose. 10 seconds to go on the B-drop penalty.
A couple of real dangerous chances for the Swedes on that power play.
And now Bengtsson fires it down and heads off on a change as Patterson's out to play it. And again, goaltenders here can play the puck wherever they want. And that long shot taken by Robert Hagg, steered away by Patterson. Approaching the midway point of the opening period, still no score. And there's icing against Canada with 10:47 to go.
Poor read in the middle of the ice for Canada as both Lazar and Dumba are outside on Burakovsky. That leaves Nick Sorensen going right down the middle of the ice. He tries to go shelf on Jake Patterson. Patterson gets a glove on it. Sorensen, who's got 13 goals in 20 games with Quebec in the Quebec League, in clear, not able to beat Patterson.
Now a centering pass, and walking in is Andreas Janssen, and Janssen stopped there by Patterson. And Jansson's had a couple of dangerous chances already in this hockey game as Unal fires it down. And Robin Norrell picks it up. Swings that across to Kohlberg. 1-on-3 is Kohlberg. It trickles down to Patterson, and he'll hang on to that.
Canada looks like they're trying to find their footing here, and as they're trying to find it, they're leaving huge gaps in the defensive end of the ice. And Johansson walked right into the middle of the ice. He had to look up before he realized how open he was. Jake Patterson with the blocker stop. Johnson, who had 2 goals in the first game, had another great chance there.
Johnson, a 7th-round pick of Toronto in the 2013 draft. He wasn't really in the mix last year to even make this team.
He's really jumped up this year, has 14 goals, which is 4 off the league lead.
In the Swedish Hockey League, plays for Frölunda, a perennial powerhouse in that league. And the puck loose down in the corner as Dumba comes drifting in late, and racing to it is Lucas Wallmark. And finally played ahead to Burakovsky. Nifty play by Burakovsky to bring it across the line. He's trying to buy some time, drags it back out of the zone as the Swedes were changing. Lead pass goes to Sorensen, and Nick Sorensen, one of the many returnees from last year's team for the Swedes, who finished second to the U.S. after losing the gold medal game. After 4 of their players were injured in the weeks leading up to the tournament. Now Ludwig Byström fires it back down to the Canadian zone. So the Swedes on home ice have lots of healthy players and lots of returning players. And Sam Reinhart fires it back down to the Swedish zone. McDavid looking for it to skip by him. And Hedberg has it for the Swedes. Out he goes for Anton Carlson. And Dumba knocked that away from him. Now a long pass. Knocked down by Lundberg, who took that away from Reinhardt. McDavid fires it in, needs a change, and he'll head off.
We have no official shot clock, but I don't recall the Canadians with a shot on goal yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now that I think about it. Walking in is Ludvig Nilsson. The puck bouncing down in front. Picked up by Erik Karlsson. Not that Erik Karlsson. An Erik Karlsson. And fired wide by Kohlberg. Now jumping on it again. Erik Karlsson walks back in front. Kohlberg with a chance. Shoot! And Patterson got a piece of that. And the puck bounces down to the corner.
Nobody knew where it was. That had to hit the netting. After it hit Patterson, the official has called that. When that puck goes behind the net, Patterson doesn't retrieve it because he's stuck as to whether he can play it. Of course he can, but that's an adjustment he has to make. And when Freddie Gauthier loses his man, which is the dangerous Kohlberg, Patterson comes across and actually stops it with his mask. Sweden has been all over Canada here in the first 12 minutes of this game.
Now off the draw, Venberg with it. And that big line back out for the Swedes, but Udon has it for Canada. Charles Udon made Team Canada last year, came over to Europe, and was injured in the first pre-tournament game and had to pull out of the tournament. So a second chance now to play in it, but as you mentioned, Ray, probably on the bubble. He and Girard are the two players who are on the bubble tonight. Kohlberg battling for it. And it's knocked down by High. And finally Derek Pouliot plays that for Ekblad. That pass gets by Pettersson and back down to the Swedish zone. And now Burakovsky comes streaking in. That long shot kicked away by Patterson. And back at the point is Pettersson. Plays it across, and the shot taken there by Gustav Olofsson. That's blocked, and now it goes down to Patterson. And he'll hang on. 7:14 to go here in the first period.
Jake Patterson's had an excellent start to this game. Stopped all 12 shots that he's faced. It's a good thing because Canada doesn't have any.
The official count is 12-0 Sweden to start this first period.
Well, Marcus Högberg is the Swedish goaltender, and he's been watching here for almost 13 minutes.
Drouin gathers it up for Canada and swings that rink wide for Bigra. Chris Bigra plays for Owen Sound in the OHL. Gets knocked down by Jacob Delarose. And here's Dumba with it. Matt Dumba being harassed by Delarose. Slides out ahead to Petan. Nick Petan finds Curtis Lazar. And Lazar with a sharp angle shot. There's the first shot on goal for Canada. 13 minutes and 40 seconds into the first period. Ludwig Biesterman across the line. Flips that back down and behind the Canadian goal. Scooped up there by Oskar Sundqvist. And Drouin spins back and plays it down to Bigra. Bigra was spilled there by Anton Carlson. And Sundqvist back to pick it up. Sundqvist is a Pittsburgh pick in the 2012 draft, taken in the third round. He plays for Skellefteå, a powerhouse team now in the Swedish Hockey League. And here's Sundqvist with it. A centering pass and a quick shot taken by Nick Sorensen, stopped by Patterson.
Their quickness and puck movement has been really impressive here in the first 14 minutes. Canada's been more on their heels, more reactionary than aggressive. And look how quickly the puck has moved. One little chip off the boards, and now Canada stands. But again, that time it's Sam Reinhart. He's about a stride or a half a stride away from where he needs to be. When the puck's moved that quickly and you're trying to read on the go and you're not in the right position, you get chasing. And right now, Canada's chased the puck.
Right across to Lundberg with a shot. Patterson to save the puck. Loose in front, knocked down by Reinhart, but with a high stick. And play is called.
What Canada needs to find here in the last 6 minutes of the period is just to get control of the puck, chip it into the zone, get yourself moving forward, as opposed to back on their heels as they've been almost this entire period. The Swedes have had a wonderful start, yet they have nothing to show for it.
And there's Kohlberg with a shot that goes off a stick and wide. And Morrissey goes ahead to McDavid. He was poke checked there by Christian Juice. And Griffin Reinhart finds Sam Reinhart, who puts that just wide of the Swedish goal. Juice, a Washington draft pick. Feeds that ahead for Jonsson. Now Lundberg plays it back. 5.5 to go in a scoreless first period. Juice in across the line. Trying to find Edvin Hedberg. That pass misfired. Now a race for it. Griffin Reinhart. Big hit there as Ludvig Nilsson stepped into him. And Sam Reinhart, his older brother Griffin, up to McDavid, who kicks that down to the Swedish zone in a race for it with Robert Hagg. And Hagg takes McDavid hard into the end board. Dealing back is Erik Karlsson. Being harassed there by Lawton. Flips it down to the Canadian zone. It's banked right back out by Pouliot. Now Lawton reaching for it, and Derek Pouliot has it back. Poke checked away from him. In comes Burakovsky. Andre Burakovsky shoots short side. Patterson makes the save. Burakovsky back on it, but it's taken away by Pouliot.
And you think after his comments put him in the spotlight a little bit, Burakovsky's got a little fire underneath him. He has been terrific in this first period.
Ekblad with a drive that's knocked away by Marcus Högberg. Ekblad scored on a rocket against the Finns on Friday.
Wasn't even a full slap shot, a little knee-high clapper, and he just rocketed past the Finnish goalkeeper.
Great pass misfires for Sorensen. And the face-off will go back down to the Swedish zone.
Griffin Reinhart makes his first appearance. He was a healthy scratch in the first game as Brent Sutter wanted to take a look at a couple different defensemen, and Reinhart will miss the first 3 games of this year's tournament, serving a suspension that was a 4-game suspension. Last year he missed the bronze medal game and has the 3 to serve now.
Sorensen plays that across for Ludvig Bistrom. And now Bistrom with it. Dallas second-round pick. A lot of drafted players, a lot of 19-year-old players in the Swedish team.
Well, Dallas has got some really good young defensemen. They have a young Finnish defenseman. We saw Esa Lindell. The first 2 games has been excellent for them.
Now here's Dumbo with a chance. Walks in and fires the save made up high by Högberg. That's the best Canadian scoring chance of the opening period. Dumba also scored against the Finns on Friday night. Biegroff through the middle for Gauthier. That pass missed. And Pettersson back to pick it up. Chipped in by Anton Karlsson. And Patterson outlets for Biegroff. Through the middle for Petan. Up ahead for Drouin, but the play was offside as Lazar was a half step ahead.
Curtis Lazar, the first-round pick by Ottawa, getting his first game action. Here's the shot from Dumba, and not surprisingly, it comes off a cycle where Canada's going to have to start spending a little more time. Kirby Reichel with the puck on the half wall. He finds Dumba across as more and more Canadian sweaters starting to pop up in the crowd here.
And you're seeing more and more folks on the streets and in cars as the annual tradition of Canadians going to the World Junior, wherever it is, continues. And some 500 made the journey to Russia last year. A little easier to get here.
Much easier. Oh, what a nice move by Drouin.
By Drouin as he plays that across to Lazar. And Curtis Lazar fires that back down to the Swedish zone. Here's Drouin waiting for it. For Lazar. They crisscross in the corner. Lazar back on it to Drouin. Petan trying to find some space in front. Now Drouin to Lazar. It's taken down by Robert Hagg, and a penalty coming to Sweden. And they'll touch up with 2:16 to go in the first period, and Canada will get the power play.
Hagg doesn't like this call. It's a cross-checking penalty. As Canada starts a little bit of a cycle. That's a couple shifts now here in the last 3 where they've cycled the puck in the Swedish zone. Drouin starts the cycle, and he gets it back down the boards to Lazar. That's the cross-checking penalty there.
These are Swedish Elite League referees, by the way. Morrissey to Ekblad in the back point on the power play. It's McDavid along with Reichel and Reinhart up front. So Kirby Reichel takes the place of Bo Horvat on the power play. On this line for Canada, Josh Morrissey, the Prince Albert Raiders, for Aaron Ekblad. Ekblad rink wide. Here comes McDavid in full stride. Connor McDavid works down low to Reichel. Back to Morrissey. Now McDavid loose along the half wall. Back to Morrissey, winds and fires. Save made by Högberg. The rebound goes to Ekblad. Back to Morrissey. Here's McDavid. Back in front. Reinhart with a chance to get all of it and put it wide. Reichel to Ekblad. That pass for Reinhart misfires, but McDavid rockets out to pick it up. McDavid to Reichel. Back down to Connor McDavid. Loose at the front of the goal. Here's a chance. Hammered wide by Ekblad.
What a nice look from McDavid. Most players, when they get to that point of the ice, are going to continue to drive it across the goal line. McDavid gets to the point of the crease and looks across and finds Ekblad. He powders it wide.
Now Pouliot's got all kinds of problems with Anton Carlson down there. And down goes Pouliot for the hold, and the power play is over.
Exceptional work by Anton Carlson behind the Canadian net. Pouliot didn't expect him to jump behind there. Carlson got to him and laid the body on him, and then the battle ensued, and in it, Pouliot is called for holding. Nice attack on the forecheck by Carlson. He keeps his feet moving, and there's the penalty. Whether it's a hold or not, it was interference at the very least. There's that chance for Ekblad, a beautiful feed across from McDavid, and he just misses the net.
So 4-on-4 now for some 43 seconds, barring more penalties as Lucas Bengtsson goes back for it. And he finds Gustav Olofsson. Nick Sorensen out of the long wall with Bigra. The puck comes free to Nick Petan. The #2 scorer in the Western Hockey League this year, had 120 points last season. And there's Bigra with a shot that hit the stick of Nick Sorensen, who quickly checks it. And now heads off knowing it's broken. Gustav Olofsson plays for Colorado College, we mentioned. Grew up in San Francisco and Denver. His dad works for a Swedish company that has U.S. offices.
Team Sweden with
And now the Swedes on the power play for the final seconds of this period. There's a quick shot once again taken by Sorensen, but Venberg got it. And then Venberg hammered down Gerard. Venberg walks out in front. Great chance. Oh, terrific stop by Patterson at the horn on Lucas Wallmark. The Swedes will have 1 minute of power play time to carry over to the second period after outplaying Canada badly in the opening 20 minutes. No score here after one. No score after one period of play here in Ängelholm, Sweden. It's pre-competition for the 2014 World Junior Hockey Championship. Gord Miller, Ray Ferraro back here in Ängelholm, Sweden. 16-5 the shots on goal for the Swedes after the opening period of that game, and it was all Sweden, especially in the early going. They had the first 12 shots of the game.
I really like the way they attacked, and they really pushed the Team Canada back on their heels. And when they were back on their heels, they really had trouble identifying where the dangerous man was. That time it was Jonathan Drouin. This time it's Matt Dumba who goes across the ice. When he goes across the ice, that opens up a shot from 15 feet out. And then shorthanded, a bad read in the middle of the ice. Lazar and Dumba gets crossed up and leaves Sorensen in for a breakaway. Excellent period for Jake Patterson from Saginaw, the Ontario League. He was brilliant, stopped everything, and has given Canada a chance to stay in the game here.
Swedes open the second period on the power play as Pouliot has 45 seconds to serve and a holding penalty taken late in the first. Pass in behind Kohlberg, and in comes Josh Anderson, the London Knights, streaking in. That's poked away from him by Christian Juice. Anderson could really fly for a big guy, huh?
He really gets around the ice well. I thought against Finland he was among Canada's better forwards. Aggressive on the puck, created some chances with his speed and his size on the forecheck.
Now Janssen to Juice. Back to Andreas Janssen. And then bottled up was Lucas Wallmark as that was knocked out by Anderson. Now Juice back with it. Final seconds of this power play. Played across to Kohlberg, and he comes and shoots, and Patterson knocks that away with his right arm.
It's a good stop for Patterson. Kohlberg scored in the first game against the U.S. and a shot very similar to that.
Like we say, the shots on goal are not posted in the building, but the statisticians are in front of us, so we get to ask them once in a while what the shots on goal are as the play's offside at the Canadian line.
Yeah, missed breakaway for Nick Sorensen in that first period as he had one of the more dangerous chances for Sweden. Brent Sutter will be doing a lot of coaching here today. Too many holes in the middle of the ice for Canada that's allowed Sweden to exploit them with their speed and skill. And you can bet there's going to be a pretty firm discussion going on the Canadian bench.
McDavid drops, and Bo Horvat with a shot that goes off a leg and wide, and McDavid spins off the check of Robin Norrell. Horvat comes hard in the corner, scooped up by Sam Reinhart, down to Horvat. Horvat, the first-round pick of the Vancouver Canucks for Reinhart to McDavid, shoots, and the save made by Holberg.
Nice effort play for Reinhart to keep that alive.
Anton Carlson drops it there for Oscar Sundqvist with a shot that goes wide, right back to Carlson. Anton Carlson centers it, goes through everyone, and finds the stick of his brother Erik Karlsson. Plays it across to Pettersson. And back to Olsson. That shot knocked away by Patterson through the traffic and down to the corner. Sam Reinhart. Poke check there by Erik Karlsson. And now the lead pass goes to Sweden's Ludvig Nilsson. That's gloved by Patterson.
Canada's best chance this period comes off an effort by Sam Reinhart. He stays on the puck to turn it over, and McDavid's shot goes off the shoulder of Marcus Holberg at the other end of the ice. Pretty quick shot from Olsson. It gets deflected. That's a nice reactionary stop from Jake Patterson.
Patterson didn't have a banner couple of weeks leading into the Canadian camp with Saginaw, but also had 2 blistering hot streaks this season. Zach Fucale, though, is expected to be in the goaltender to carry most of the load for Canada in the tournament. Now the drop pass to Delarose, and Jacob Delarose stopped by Patterson. Delarose is one of many players pressed into service last year by the Swedes when they suffered those 4 late injuries, and he was terrific in their silver medal performance last year.
Second-round draft pick by the Montreal Canadiens. And Delarose is one of those players that can disrupt with his size and speed. He's not a tricky player, but because he can get in on the forecheck so quickly, because he's willing to use his body, and defensively he can back pressure really well, he can be a disruptive force.
Off the draw, Bengtson fires that high and wide. It bounces down to Hedberg, sends it back in front. The pass out of the reach of Ludvig Nilsson. Now battle for it behind the Canadian goal, and it's picked up by Lawton. Scott Lawton to Chris Biegra. And Biegra through the middle of the ice to Anthony Mantha. Now Biegra fires it back down to the Swedish zone. Brought back by Byström to Juice. Ahead for Hedberg. That's knocked away by Dumba. Christian Juice, long lead pass for Nilsson, being watched there by Mantha. The puck trickles down to the Canadian line. Biegra for Mantha. That shoot-in hit Juice in the head. And now through the middle comes Venberg. His pass for Janssen, and Andreas Janssen tied up there by Lazar. Patterson up to play it. And Venberg knocks it down. The Swedish captain, who had 4 points in that game against the U.S., drops it back, and a glove save by Patterson off Christian Juice.
Might have been tipped by Kolberg as he was tied up with Matthew Dumba about 20 feet in front of Patterson. And so Christian Juice gets a solid wood on this, and the windmill glove stop for Jake Patterson.
Pretty good crowd here today in Angle Home. Building seats about 4,000. This is the home of Rögle in the Swedish League. They're playing in the Allsvenskan, or second division now. They got relegated last year after spending 1 year in what's now known as the Swedish Hockey League, the old Swedish Elite League. In one of the great tournaments or formats you'll ever see, the Kvällsserien features the bottom 2 teams from the Swedish Elite League, the top 4 teams from the Allsvenskan playing in a round-robin tournament, the top 2 teams through the 10 games in advance of the Elite League the next year, and the ratings on television for the Kvällsserien rival those of the Swedish Elite League playoffs. It's the ultimate reality show. Now a bouncing puck in front of the Swedish goal. Petan reaching for it. And Nick Petan on it for Canada. Bangs it off the glass for Anderson. Josh Anderson to Petan. Center. Drouin with a drive. And Holberg makes the stop on him. So 2 early chances for Canada here in the second period. And now Petan back on it. Throws it back in front. Rolls back to Ekblad with a drive. That's partly blocked. As Anton Carlson got in front of that. Petan throws it back down to the Swedish zone. This is the longest sustained pressure we've seen from Canada in the game.
What is to be their top line with Drouin and Lazar and Petan create those chances and the zone time. And as you mentioned, really the first time there's been extended zone time for Canada.
Pellick's long shooting was knocked down. And Pellick looks ahead for Reichel. Here's Frederick Gauthier, the Toronto Maple Leaf first-round pick. Centers it for Sam Reinhart. And he tipped that wide. Back come the Swedes the other way. Here's Hedberg with it. Lined up by Hedberg. They joust along the wall. And Gauthier digging forward as well. And the referee telling them to move it. There are 3 players standing on the puck. And they kick away and finally play his call.
Finally some good cycle work, some support in the offensive zone, and it leads to a couple really good scoring chances there. Drouin's wrist or his shoulder to side. He's in an excellent spot, much like we saw when Canada got in trouble in the first period. If you can find that quiet spot, you're going to have about a second to shoot it. And Drouin was able to tee it up and release it. Nice stop by Högberg.
Horvat, McDavid, and Reinhart out there for Canada. Holberg's line out for the Swedes, so power on power right now. And through the middle of the ice, Venberg knocks it down, and now McDavid takes it right back for Canada. Bo Horvat. Knocked Venberg off the puck and flips it down to the Swedish zone. And now Horvat picks up the loose puck in the corner. Horvat battling there with Olofsson. Not related to Frederick Olofsson, that's a different spelling. But known as an offensive puck-moving type defenseman. That pass for Horvat misses, and icing got waved off. And here's Olofsson with it. Patterson for Bigra. To Hudon. Hudon and Girard playing on the same line here. And changed it the other night when you had Mantha and Shinkarik on the same line, basically battling for the same spot. And Mantha scored in a 2-on-1 with Shinkarik coming in. You didn't think Mantha would ever pass him the puck in that situation. Now a chance to score! Loose in front is Sorensen. Gets it to Burakovsky. And it is 1-0 Sweden.
Onto the puck, support to the front of the net. We just talked about Jacob Delarose and how he can be disruptive with his forechecking and with his speed. The puck will go behind the net, and watch Delarose get it here and control the puck. Now he's on the cycle, and he throws it behind his back to the short side to the dangerous Burakovsky. Bigras can't get to him as he thinks the puck's coming around the backside. He's a little slow to react, and Andrei Burakovsky gives Sweden a 1-0 lead.
Having a big year, as you mentioned, playing for Erie in the Ontario Hockey League with Connor McDavid. So the Swedes finally rewarded for all their efforts, get the lead here.
Assist number 9, and number 28.
Anton Carlson works ahead for the Swedes, steps around Hudon and fires it down in the Canadian zone. Ekblad is waiting for it. Lazar drops it back for Ekblad, and Lazar fires it back down to the Swedish zone. Hudon looking for it. Now Pouliot tries to throw that down in the corner, but it's picked up instead by Nilsson. In comes Nilsson across the line to Juice with a shot. It flutters up in the air, and it's gloved by Jake Patterson. Andrei Burakovsky has the goal for Sweden, leading 1-0 over Canada here in the second period.
Unlike in the past when evaluations went right to the tournament, Canada's down to their last forward cut. And Brent Sutter has to be at least a little concerned with the way that Canada has matched up against the Swedes here. The Swedes have been a little too quick for them, a little more aggressive. Canada's played most of this game on their heels. And you know, a Sutter coach team wants to be aggressive. They want a forecheck. They want to get on the body. And Canada just has not been able to do that this evening.
Reinhart involved in front of the Canadian bench as he knocked his man down.
The danger becomes you want to be really physically involved and you start running all over the place. As you see Reinhart just toss Ludvig Nilsson to the ice. You still have to play with composure. You still have to play in the structure of what your team's trying to accomplish. But Canada needs to be a little more aggressive on the puck.
So on that last face-off again, Jonathan Drouin lined up on defense and Josh Morrissey on left wing. That's the second time we've seen that tonight.
Try to give Drouin a little head start jumping into the play.
Juice plays it across, and the long shot taken by Arvid Lundberg, handled by Patterson.
So many of these players have seen each other in the past now, as opposed to many years ago when there were less international tournaments. They see each other at the U17 or the U18. Now they see them again. They're familiar with each other for the most part. Not many surprises anymore by the time you get to here.
And you've got junior players for the Swedes, college players, American Hockey League players. No, it's a much smaller hockey world than it used to be in many respects, even though there are far more countries and players playing it.
I think.
And there's Aaron Ekblad, who will be a candidate to go first overall in the 2014 NHL draft, along with Sam Reinhart from Team Canada.
We keep hearing the same thing about Aaron Ekblad, and that's his maturity. How strong he is, how mature a player and a person he is. Hard to believe he's just 17 years old, but the captain of his team, that Dale Howarchuk told us that was really a no-brainer to name him captain.
Here comes Gauthier with a head of steam on Jesper Pettersson, and Gauthier separates him from the puck. Picked out by Oscar Sundqvist, who takes the return pass and looks ahead for Sorensen. And now Pouliot plays it up for Gauthier along with Anderson. And Gauthier ran over Pettersson again as he fires it right down to the Swedish goal. Sundqvist out for Anton Carlson, and Pouliot out the center ice to Gauthier, who flips that down to the Swedish zone. Approaching the midway point of the second period, Swedes lead 1-0, outshot Canada 16-5 in the first period. Sorensen throws that back to Pettersson. Swedes in the midst of a change. And now Olofsson to Volmar. Through the middle is Delarose. Jacob Delarose in, and the puck just rolled off his stick. Delarose back with it. Takes the return pass. Again, it bounces off his stick. And that shot taken by Robert Hagg was blocked. And a hand pass called against the Swedes in the Canadian zone.
Delarose again prominent on that forecheck. He gets into the play, and you see a little glimpse of his skating as he's able to corral the puck. Here's that pass he made on the goal, the only goal of the game, to Burakovsky. He gets the puck down low, a little what turns out to be a give and go. And when Bigrau anticipates him going around the back of the net,
right off the face-off, down goes Erik Karlsson.
That's going to be for sure a tripping penalty on Matt Dumba. The officials talking about, oh, Dumba's got his knee out here. He's going to be ejected from the game.
Yeah, Dumba's going to go.
Erik Karlsson being tended to on the Swedish bench as Dumba is done for the evening.
Now, we can point out that this is not an IIHF game. However, incidents that happen in these games can be reviewed. There's a directorate meeting on Christmas night, and players have been suspended in the past for what's happened in pre-tournament games.
5 minutes.
So a 5-minute major to Matt Dumba for the knee.
Now, if they decide that is a one-game suspension, for example, Canada will open the tournament with 5 defensemen because Griffin Reinhart is already suspended.
Because you can't, the trick is you can't declare a roster and not include Dumba. Dumba has to serve a game once he's on the roster. So Griffin Reinhart's got 3 to serve, and Dumba might get something for that. In comes Griffin Reinhart, tries to shovel that across to Sam Reinhart, a fluttering puck, and Holberg makes the save on that.
We've seen this 2 games in a row now at a crucial time in the game where Canada's shorthanded. Sam Reinhart, who's a draft-eligible player, is among the first people on the ice. In the game against Finland, it was a 5-on-3. Reinhart was the only forward. Here, at the start of this big 5-on-4 5-minute major, Reinhart's on the ice with Bo Horvat.
And the number 1 line on the ice now for the Swedes. Benberg with Kohlberg and Janssen. And jumping in is Venberg. Loose down low. Now the Swedes get it set up. And the shot by Wallmark fluttered down wide of the goal. Griffin Reinhart on his backhand to Bo Horvat on his backhand sends it back down to the Swedish line.
Since forever, when you get a 5-minute major, there's always the danger of your power play falls asleep, that the penalty killers work a little harder, and the first minute's been killed with no threat, as Canada's done a good job, and the Swedes have turned the puck over.
Horvat can't clear it out. And now knocked away from Burakovsky by Horvat. Under 4 to go in the 5-minute major to Matt Dumba, who's been ejected from the contest. Nick Sorensen fires that down. Gauthier gets to it, hammers it off the boards and glass and down the ice. Burakovsky, the Swedish goal scorer, with a head of steam in around Gauthier. Now Burakovsky poke check, that Gauthier sends it down the ice.
Good close by Ekblad, and then Gauthier gets tight to him to get to the loose puck and is able to chip it down the ice.
And Burakovsky and Ekblad were jousting in front of the Swedish bench. Little Barry Erie action there.
I say again, very familiar, as you called it, small hockey world.
Janssen has it knocked away, and Lawton plays it up the center ice for Canada. Christian Juice with 3 to go in this power play. Lead pass to Venberg to Janssen. Andreas Janssen drops that back to Lucas Wallmark. Now here's Juice with it. Juice to Wallmark. In shoots. Hit a stick of Venberg, had fallen in front. And now Lawton away for Canada, shorthanded. Scott Lawton trying to work his way in. And Lawton then slams Wallmark into the sideboards. Halfway through this 5-minute major, in comes Kohlberg. Looks down for Venberg. And Pelech stepped in front of him. Ekblad has time and fires it down. 7 to go in the second period. Sweden will open against Switzerland on Boxing Day. Canada against Germany that same day. They're in different pools and therefore different arenas.
We'll see the Swiss tomorrow. Canada's final tune-up.
Pretty impressive last year, the Swiss were.
Very, very well structured, as you would always think it, as that seems to be the case over the last 8 or 10 years, but they were a more aggressive team, more dangerous offensively.
Just 1:42 to go in this power play. Sorensen back to Olofsson. In the corner to Burakovsky. Back to Olofsson. That shot goes just wide, and now Pouliot on it sends that fluttering puck back down to the Swedish line.
This has been among Canada's best 4 minutes of the game so far, as they've been in excellent position. Sweden not a shot yet. Here's some open room for Kohlberg.
Now Kohlberg jumping in across the line, trying to step around Reinhart. Loose puck in front of him, save made by Patterson. And the rebound cleared away. Now Pouliot on it. Buys some time and fires it down on Holberg. A minute to go in the 5-minute power play. Andreas Janssen taps that back to Juice. Christian Juice, who plays for Brynäs in the Swedish Hockey League. In comes Ekblad with a chance. Aaron Ekblad throws that back in the corner. Gauthier digging down there. Buying some time as Juice finally picks it up. And Juice drops it off for Venberg. For Janssen. Andreas Janssen down to Venberg. To Janssen. Back to Juice. Cross he goes to Kohlberg. And Kohlberg finds Janssen. He whistled that high and wide. Look at him shoot the puck, huh?
We've seen that 3 or 4 times from that very spot.
Now Venberg. Final seconds of the power play. That's tapped wide by Kohlberg. Kohlberg down to Venberg. Back in front. Janssen scores with 1 second left in a 5-minute power play. It's 2-0 Sweden.
Gord, you just referenced that, the shot by Janssen. He scored a power play goal identically against the United States yesterday. The puck goes from the sidewall down to the goal line to Venberg, and his pass comes out, and Janssen wastes no time and one-times it up over the shoulder of Jake Patterson. The play starts and originates with Kohlberg to Venberg. Janssen moves in close. Anderson's there, but he doesn't have his stick to defend the play, and Janssen goes up top, and it's 2-0 Sweden.
So that's 3 goals in 2 games for Andreas Janssen. He plays for Frölunda in the Swedish Hockey League. And the Swedes have a 2-0 lead. It took them 4 minutes and 59 seconds to take advantage of that kneeing penalty to Matt Dumba. Reinhardt up ahead to Drouin. Jonathan Drouin trying to wind his way in. And Anton Carlson takes that away and takes a bump from Drouin for his trouble. And Griffin Reinhardt fires that back down to the Swedish zone. Sundqvist pass bounces back. And a chance now for Ludvig Nielsen. Nielsen down in the corner with Pouliot, looks ahead for McDavid. And Connor McDavid pokes it out. Chance now for Nick Petan. Petan jumping in. Here comes Nick Petan, throws it back in front. And Drouin can't pull the trigger. Connor McDavid now out with these guys. And McDavid takes the puck away from Volmark. Now Petan with it. And Pouliot holds the line along. Rishak goes wide, bounces right back in front. And it's picked up by Volmark. Streaking in now, Burakovsky with a chance, and sneaking out the glove is Jake Patterson to make the stop. 2-0 Sweden leads on the power play goal by Andreas Johansson. Some Canadian fans in evidence here in Ängelholm, about an hour north of the host city of Malmö for the 2014 World Junior Championship. Along the west coast of Sweden. Malmö right across the harbor from Copenhagen. In comes Sam Reinhardt. Now Reinhardt with it. Fields off the puck. Pouliot with a drive. Kicked out by Högberg. And the rebound picked up by Janssen. And Reichel takes a long run at him.
The last shift, Connor McDavid was on the right wing with Drouin and Petan. This shift has Sam Reinhardt with Horvat and Reichel as Brent Sutter puts a blender to these line combinations a little bit.
And away comes Horvat along with Reichel and Reinhardt. Horvat got spun off the puck, plays it down in the corner for Reinhardt. And Reichel crisscrossing. Reinhardt flips it back to the point to Bigrov. Sends it back in front for Mantha. And Anthony Mantha spins and fires it down low for Reichel. Here's Reinhardt back on it. Up for his brother Griffin. And the puck drops down to the side of the Swedish goal. 2:20 to go in the second period. Sweden leading 2-0. Lazar looking for it. Bounces away from him, and here's Sorensen picking it up. Shots are 10-5 Sweden here in the second period, so that's 26-10 overall. And now a race for it as Lazar goes in. Lawton looking for the puck as well. And now brought ahead by Sundqvist. Lead pass to Carlson. Anton Carlson shot juggled by Patterson. And picked up by Sorensen. And that shot from the point drifts wide. Now Sundqvist. Off the check, and that second long shot from Sorensen goes wide. And now Lawton being held up there by Anton Carlson. Shields him off. Mantha plays it back. A penalty coming to Sweden. Anthony Mantha with Patterson making his way to the Canadian bench. Plays it ahead for Griffin Reinhart. To Curtis Lazar. And finally the puck touched at center ice. And Anton Carlson will make his way off for the Swedes. That might be the record for speed in the penalty box.
Sometimes you just know that's probably going to get it done for him. Carlson's had an effective game, had an excellent shot block earlier. Got in on the forecheck shorthanded to turn the puck over. And this is this new power play group that Canada was working on yesterday at practice. It's 4 forwards. Jonathan Drouin is at the point, along with Derek Pouliot.
So Petan, Lazar, and McDavid up front.
1 minute left.
Ludvig Nielsen. Knocked that down to the corner. Now a battle for it as Robert Hagg is in there. Back at the point is Drouin to set things up. Pouliot plays it across to Petan. Back to Pouliot. Across to Drouin. Trying to slide that back in front. Gets it right back. Looks in front again for McDavid. A backhand shot put high and wide by Petan. Nielsen in a battle with McDavid. 25 seconds to go in the period. And Robin Norrell slips that down to the Canadian zone. Derek Pouliot of the Portland Winterhawks. Pass to the far blue line. Sam Reinhart able to knock it down, but out of the reach of Petan, who dives and pokes that down to the corner. And now in the final seconds, the Swedes fire it down. And Canada will have 51 seconds of power play time to begin the third period. Shots on goal were 12-5 in favor of the Swedes in that second period. Back in Ängelholm, Sweden, the Swedes leading 2-0 against Canada in pre-tournament action for the 2014 World Junior Hockey Championship. Gord Miller back here with Ray Ferraro. So the two Swedish goals in that second period looked very similar.
They did 28 shots for the Swedes throughout the opening 40 minutes. And of the areas that Canada's had trouble defending are these plays from below the goal line. There's a nice play from Delarose out front, and Burakovsky buries it. And then on the power play, it's Johnson taking the pass from Wenberg. Canada's getting a little bit puck-eyed, where wherever the puck goes, they start to stare at it. They don't look behind them, and the dangerous man is standing there. Now, Canada's going to have 50 seconds here at the start of the third period on the power play to see if they can have this lead.
And don't forget, Sweden's two most experienced players in terms of international and pro-level competition are on the way. Elias Lindholm is here from Carolina. Philip Forsberg expected to arrive tomorrow. There's a pair of first-round picks on the way for a team that's already stacked. Curtis Lazar centers it. Here's Petan, back to Pouliot. Now Pouliot plays it across to Petan. That shot through traffic bounces off a leg and away from Lazar. Drouin can't knock it down. A chance now for the Swedes. 2-on-1, shorthanded. Sundqvist across he goes to Delarose. He slid that just wide. And then goes barreling into Jake Patterson. And Drouin arguing a penalty should be coming to Sweden here.
As Delarose went to the front of the net, he got tied up with the Canadian back checker. We'll get a look at it. Drouin knocks the puck down, and it turns into be a nice stop for a 2-on-1. The back checker's Lazar, and Lazar and Delarose go into the net. They could have called that a penalty just as easily as letting it go, but they ruled that Lazar had steered Delarose into the goalkeeper, and the faceoff will come outside the zone with just 14 seconds left on this power play.
Faceoff comes outside. And the faceoff won by the Swedes, so Jesper Pettersson buys some time and banks it there to Kohlberg. Long pass ahead for Kohlberg. Patterson on it. Back hands it around for Ekblad. Teams are back to 5-on-5 early in the third period. Here's Venberg with it. Alexander Venberg. Taken down by Morrissey. That'll be a penalty to Canada, and the Swedes have got an early power play here in the third.
So this top group for Sweden will start on the power play, and as Wenberg hangs on to the puck here, and the trip by Morrissey put Sweden on the power play. One power play goal in the game already for the Swedes. We just had the opportunity to meet Elias Lindholm, as you mentioned, Gord, coming over here to play with Sweden. He had skated in the other rink just a little earlier along with the third goaltender, so he's ready to get going as well. And this Swedish team is going to be extremely deep.
Andreas Janssen went hard into the bench, or the boards rather, in front of the Canadian bench, and he's laboring to make his way back to the Swedish bench now as it trickles down now to Patterson. Janssen might have been winded there. Now a chance shorthanded for Canada. The puck trickles off Bo Horvat's stick.
You're not in the panic zone here for Canada that you've got to take all these crazy chances to get back into the game. Kill your penalty here and then try and get yourself back in.
Griffin Reinhart works in now shorthanded. Reinhart in, his shot deflected wide. And the net knocked off, and the faceoff will come outside.
There was Janssen on the bench. He crashed into the boards here as he loses his footing. And it appeared as though, as you mentioned, Gord, he was winded as the trainer had his arms up over his head for 15 or 20 seconds. He was helping him try to get some deep breaths in. He looks like he's all right.
And again, these boards are set in concrete, and so there's almost no give to them. When the puck comes off them, it's like it comes off a brick wall almost.
Well, we just saw it right there. That thing came off like a rubber ball. It just exploded off the end boards. We'll see what the rink's like in Malmo when the tournament starts. Of course, this is not the rink that they'll play in.
That shot by Gustav Olofsson, knocked away. And Delarose with it. 40 seconds to go in the Swedish power play. Sorensen drops it back to Burakovsky. And Burakovsky steps away from Pouliot, plays it back, and there's a chance score! Lucas Bengtsson hammers it home, and it's 3-0 Sweden.
Well, once they start to move the puck around, they open up the one-timer again. And Bengtsson just pounds this up over top of the glove of Jake Patterson. Side-to-side play for the Swedes, and Bengtsson's got all kinds of room. The Team Canada has gone into an eye in the front. As you see, Gauthier and Anderson end up standing directly in front of each other. That opens up all kinds of room for this one-timer to be stepped into, and a second power play goal for Sweden.
Team Sweden scored.
Bengtsson plays for Mora in the Allsvenskan, Swedish second league, and now another penalty coming up. And it's going to be an elbowing call against Canada's Adam Pelech, so Sweden's going right back to the power play.
There's the elbowing penalty to Pelech, and once the penalty was called, you start to see a little bubbling of the frustration for Canada here in what's turned out to be a really long 43 minutes for them.
By the way, the penalty to Canada's Matt Dumba was a 5-minute major penalty for kneeing. It was not a match penalty. However, it is still subject to being reviewed. Now Christian Juice's pass is knocked away from Janssen and fired down the ice by Ekblad. Andreas Janssen for Kohlberg. In comes Sebastian Kohlberg with a chance. Kohlberg shoots and puts it wide. And now Lazar drops it back for Ekblad. His pass back to Lawton misfired, and Pouliot back for it. 3.5 gone in this third period. The lead pass for Sam Reinhart, shorthanded. And now Reinhart back on the steal. Sends it back in front. Horvat's stick blew up. And the puck goes harmlessly wide. Gustav Olofsson. Up through the middle for Bengtsson. Plays it across, and a great chance for Burakovsky. The rebound trickles wide.
Wow, as Burakovsky had a game here. He's got a goal and an assist, and there was a lot of focus on him for his comments prior to the game, and he has just answered the bell here and been among the most dynamic, dangerous forwards. Here's Sebastian Kohlberg as he walks around. Pouliot doesn't get much on his chance on Jake Patterson. Brent Sutter is heated on the bench now, and he's thought there should have been a penalty on that last Bo Horvat chance.
I think there's more than that making him unhappy at the moment.
Oh, that's just item one. That was the most current of items. This has just not been a very good Canadian performance. Lord, I guess we can go back to last year's tournament. And, you know, you have to put these pre-tournament games in their place. They're very important because you want to see where your team fits. But, you know, the Finns destroyed the U.S. last year 5-1 in the pre-tournament.
Right.
U.S. won the gold medal, and the Finns finished 7th.
Now, what about the evaluation game here, Ray, between Girard and Udom?
Neither of them have been very noteworthy, to be quite honest. And I would look at playing them both a lot here in the last 15 minutes and see if someone separates themselves. I would say Hudon has a leg up at this point, but not by very much.
Anton Carlson had that knocked away, and the point shot goes off a leg as well. As Arvid Lundberg got that away, and the teams are back to 5-on-5. Lazar now with a chance on the rolling puck, and it's knocked away from him by Lundberg. Now Lazar falls in the corner. Now Ekblad winds and shoots, and that's kicked out by Hogberg. Throws it back to Ekblad, didn't get all of that. And it was blocked by Andreas Karlsson. Now Patan digging for it, and backing him up is Lazar, but the puck squeezed by him. Aaron Ekblad for Pouliot. Back to Ekblad, who picks his way ahead, and Pouliot now on his horse and across the line. Derek Pouliot in, shoots, hammered that wide. Here's Patan now, throws it down the corner for Lazar. Venberg plays that down, and now Beastrom settles it down. The long pass goes back to Janssen. Andreas Janssen looking ahead for Kohlberg, and Bigra goes racing back for Canada. Now chipped down the ice by Drouin. That'll be icing at the end of a long shift for Canada.
George, you've referenced Matthew Dumba's kneeing penalty a couple of times, a major penalty. The player he hit, Erik Karlsson, has not been back. And I assume that all comes into play when they discuss the incident. Whole bad change here for Canada.
Hag plays that, and the shot fired on goal by Norrell. Knocked away by Jake Patterson. Burakovsky squeezed off the puck by Morrissey. Now Bigra battling for it. And Burakovsky wins the battle for the puck in the corner. For Delarose. Pinching in was Norrell, but the pass is broken up, and Canada's away with a chance for a 2-on-1. Horvat with McDavid. Bo Horvat made his move. The puck rolled off his stick. And now Horvat back together with McDavid and Reinhart for Canada. Connor McDavid. In a battle for the puck along the wall. Gloved down by Pellet. Tried to throw it across, but a great defensive play by Delarose knocks it out.
Delarose, another of the Swedish players that's had a really good evening here. He really projects to be a third-line checker, a real effective player. Montreal drafted him in the second round last year. The way he skates, the way he gets in on the body. Got a lot of things to like in his toolbox.
Puck brought in by Sorensen. His pass across for Hedberg misfired. And now Pettersson being harassed there by Josh Anderson. Makes the play to Sundqvist, the head for Hedberg. Crews are changing as Hedberg whistles that high and wide. And it bounces down to Anderson. Chips it there for Gauthier. Frederick Gauthier with it now. Squeezed off in the corner by Juice. And back at the line is Pouliot. Derek Pouliot winds his way in. Looks around for Gauthier. Drops it down to Reichel, but that pass is intercepted by Lundberg. Now Reichel misfires on that shot, and Benberg has it for Sweden. Going to wind his way away from Anderson, now peels back again. And the Swedes will set it up. Christian Juice leaves it there for Burakovsky. Beat the first man, but Drouin knocked his pass down at center ice, and now the second pass is knocked away by Petan. Lead pass by Beastrom, and racing after it is Bengtson. He collides hard with Pouliot. And Lazar picks it up for Canada. Curtis Lazar. Long pass ahead for Drouin. Jonathan Drouin works in and shoots. And it's off the stick of Delarose. Up and out of play. 3-0. The Swedes lead here at Ängelholm.
Sweden's power goal here in the third period has given them a 3-0 lead. Canada has yet to put sustained shift after shift together to generate a little offensive zone pressure, to gain some momentum. When they have had those shifts, they've been infrequent, and nothing has gone back to back for them.
Mantha knocks that down, and that quick shot taken by Felix Girard is stopped by Högberg.
Högberg hasn't had a ton to do. He's looked really confident when he has had shots, but again, there's not been a lot of duress around him when he's had to make the saves.
Oscar Dansk expected to be the starting goaltender for the Swedes for the opener of the tournament. Plays for Erie in the Canadian Hockey League. A Columbus second-round pick. Högberg's an Ottawa third-round selection. Delarose looks ahead for Burakovsky. Here he comes. Burakovsky for Delarose in. And Bigra got a stick on him to disrupt that shot. Juice back with it for Burakovsky. And Mantha has it for Canada. Anthony Mantha's pass in behind Girard. That goes all the way back down to the Swedish zone. That'll be icing with 10:25 to go in the third.
There's Delarose again as the puck is turned over, and it's a quick 2-on-1. The effort from Bigra to get back to tie up the stick of Delarose prevents any scoring chance.
Face off one, and Anton Carlson shot his block. Carlson back with it for Sundqvist with a drive, and Pettersson makes the stop up high and hangs on.
There gets to be a point where you become so frustrated you don't even think on the ice anymore. The Canadians are staring at the puck. Nobody finds Sundqvist standing there. You've got to look behind you. The Canadians have just adopted this policy right now of go to the puck, try and create the play, try and make the hit. Almost to the point of where less is more. Do less on the ice, you'll be more effective. The harder you try, the worse it gets. And right now, Canada's in that a little bit.
But down 3-0 and held it just 3 shots so far here in the third period, and Pettersson gloves that off the stick of Anton Carlson.
Gord, we've seen Swedish players now on a regular basis for a couple of decades in the NHL, playing successful, important roles. And the one thing that I noticed as a teammate of them, and you see when as now we broadcast, is how well they play positionally. So now if you're trying to get back into the game, they just don't make very many mistakes as a team. So Canada's got 3 shots in the first half of the period. It's tough to generate against a team that just doesn't make many mistakes. And Canada hasn't forced them into many decisions.
In comes McDavid, fires that wide of the goal. Here's Horvat on it. Looking down for Reinhart. McDavid gets loose. His pass goes off the back of the net. Griffin Reinhart down for McDavid. Throws it back in front to Horvat. And Holbert makes a save on that. Another nifty feed by McDavid.
I was just thinking that, like the youngster Jack Eichen for the U.S., who's eligible for the draft in 2015, same as McDavid, they've both had real quiet second games. They remember the pass that Eichen made for the goal that the U.S. scored, Hartman scored. That pass was very similar. They use their body, they shield the puck, they get it to the front of the net, and the chance is made. So quiet second nights for both of those youngsters.
Here's a steal by Patan, walks in, tries to shoot, rebound hammered high by Lazar. And now Sundqvist with a lead pass. Ahead for Nilsson, too far for him. Ekblad steps into him. Nilsson spins off the check of Ekblad. A wraparound. Anderson makes the stop and hangs on. And Ekblad into it now with Anton Carlson, who's been feisty tonight so far.
A draft-eligible player, Anton Carlson is this year. As, of course, is Aaron Ekblad. Good work on the boards, though, as this is Ludvig Nilsson, who gets around the back of the net. He uses the boards as protection. He gets up against the boards and is able to control the puck after Patan's shot earlier is deflected away. Lazar tries to go underneath the bar and shoots it over top of the Swedish goal.
Face-off won by Venberg to Kohlberg with a sharp angle shot blocked by Pouliot. And now Kohlberg for Janssen. Andreas Janssen. Back to Venberg. In comes Venberg with a chance now. Throws it back in front. Anderson waiting for it for Canada. Moves it ahead. Josh Anderson has it away. As Jesper Pettersson stepped in front of him. 8:45 to go in the third period. Sweden leading 3-0. Sweden will play Switzerland on Boxing Day, then Finland on the 28th, Norway the 29th, and then their New Year's Eve game is against Russia in the big rink in Malmo. Canada opens against Germany on Boxing Day, then plays the Czechs and Slovaks, and closes on New Year's Eve against the United States. And a different format this year for the World Junior Championship. Top 4 teams, as that shooting goes over the glass, top 4 teams advance to the medal.
Dangerous crossover,
yeah.
Extra game, as there you see Anderson take a long run at Olsen, who's really been impressive in these 2 pre-tournament games. Moves really well on the ice, has got a real nice presence when he has the puck.
Now Griffin Reinhart after Charles Udon. Udon falls. Now up along the wall, Griffin Reinhart knocks it down. Reinhart's long wrist shot tipped on goal. As Girard got a chance at that. And now some pushing and shoving as a penalty was coming, I believe, with the Swedes. And Charles Udon in the middle of that.
So an interference penalty for Ludwig Bistrom. Canada will go on the power play with 8 minutes left here in the third period. Point shot from Griffin Reinhart right in front of the net. There's the interference penalty. And as Hudon finishes his check on Bankston, Bankston gets his stick up a little bit, didn't appreciate the finish as the whistle was about to be blown.
Shots are even at 5 apiece in this period, but the Swedes have had a wide edge in the shots on goal overall. Remember, the Swedes had the first 12 shots of the game. Just Canada more than 13 minutes to get its first shot in the hockey game.
Just 15 shots for Canada this evening.
So on the power play, here's Lazar. Back to Pouliot, walking the line. Plays it across to Drouin. Back to Pouliot. Across he goes to Patan, who hammered that about 3 feet wide, and now Drouin on it. Back to Pouliot. Lazar standing in front. Here's Patan again with a shot, and that was blocked this time by Robert Haag. Now Pouliot back with it. Plays it across to Drouin. Back in front. Anthony Mantha tries to fish that in front of Jam play for it. Lazar on it. 3 Canadians whack away at it. And Marcus Holberg able to keep it out. And Sundqvist wants a piece of Anthony Mantha. While Petan winds up on top of the Swedish goaltender.
Mantha's going to get the puck right in the garden spot here, but when he goes to take it to his forehand, he bobbles it just a moment, and then it starts ping-ponging around. You see Petan on top of the Swedish goaltender, and here's Sundqvist and Mantha getting tangled up to the right of goaltender Marcus Högberg.
Off the draw, Drouin. Plays it back to Pouliot. Across he goes, Petan shoots. Högberg has a look back, but he's got it. 1 minute to go in the Canadian power play.
3 times that puck has come from Pouliot to Petan, and each time he's had enough room to one-time it. Missed the net once, blocked once. This one gets all the way through. The read for the goalie here is an easy one. However, though, is with Lazar in the middle of the net, he can get a good look at it. If it's going to go to Petan, they got to move over in front to take away his eyes, make it a little more difficult to see the puck.
Drouin lost the puck, and it's moved out by Anton Carlson. Venberg wound his way back, and now it's fired down the ice by the Swedes as Jesper Pettersson wristed it down. Pouliot took a bump there from Anton Carlson, and now Carlson in a pile up at the Canadian line. And a penalty coming to Canada. It's going to go to Sam Reinhart, and all that caused by Anton Carlson.
Carlson took a long run at Sam Reinhart, and when Reinhart got back up, he just turned around and cross-checked Carlson. If the teams are scouting the Swedes, they're going to have to be aware that Anton Carlson likes to race down the ice on the short-handed, dump in down the ice. There you see Reinhart doesn't even have the puck. It's in the pile of players. Reinhart is sour at it, and he gets up and lays the cross-check on Anton Carlson. Carlson's been a captain in his age group for the last 4 or 5 years. Here, he and his brother on this team. His brother hurt earlier on the Matthew Dumba hit, but Carlson has certainly made an impact this season.
Lundberg for Delarose, and so it's 4-on-4 for the next 15 seconds, and then another Swedish power play. Played back to Lundberg. Drops it back to Juice. Christian Juice spins and plays it back to Lundberg. Grishuk was off the leg of McDavid. And now Bistrom steps on for the Swedes. Run the power play for the next minute and a half. Horvat out to McDavid. Connor McDavid comes leaping in, and we got a penalty call from the referee. And is it too many men on the ice?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be too many men on the ice for Sweden.
And a bit of a sloppy change. And there you see.
Well, they got a whole whack of them out there.
See, the problem when you're wearing gold jerseys is
that's easy to see. So the power play disappears. It'll be 4-on-4 here for the next 81 seconds.
And Johnsson will take a seat in the penalty box for the Swedes. He does his work when his team's got the man advantage, not when they get a penalty.
He might have been the guy that jumped early, too.
That's always a possibility, isn't it?
Team penalty.
Canada expected to make its last cut tonight or tomorrow morning before playing Switzerland tomorrow night in Trelleborg, which is about an hour and a half south of here, half an hour south of Malmo. A very different selection process than what we're used to for Team Canada, where they brought extra players over to Europe, and they'll make the cuts over here. That's what the Americans did last year en route to the gold medal.
Canada has a healthy scratch in Taylor Lear from the Portland Winterhawks. He's certainly on the team. But with this performance today, you wonder if Brent Sutter will wait another day.
Good.
And take a look a step further.
You can wait as long as you want. Canada could name, you name 3 goaltenders and 20 skaters. They could name 18 skaters if they wanted to and fill in the spots later.
We saw the U.S. did that last year when they had some injury problems on their blue line. They left an open spot and were a game or two into the tournament before they made their final roster decision.
Right.
A lot of long faces on that Canadian bench. This has been a tough afternoon and evening for them.
And as you said, you don't want to read too much into a pre-tournament game, but remember, arguably two of Sweden's best players are still to come.
The best part is you don't have to see these guys till the next round.
In comes Venberg with it. Cross to Norrell with a wrist shot. Patterson to save. The rebound drops down to Griffin Reinhardt. And here's Morrissey on it.
My point about that is maybe by the time you see the Swedes again, you've got your game into another gear.
In comes Udon. That's gloved by Holtberg as Canada's now on the power play for 31 seconds. Or maybe not if that pushing and shoving ensues.
Udon's going to shoot the puck, and Norrell's going to wedge him to the outside. Here's a little earlier some excellent puck work from Wenberg, and it's Norrell again with his shot. Jake Patterson makes the stop.
Another face-off won by the Swedes. They've been good in that department as well. And fired down on Patterson. Here's Pouliot with it, the Pittsburgh Penguins first rounder, drafted by the Penguins in Pittsburgh. With the pick they got as part of the Jordan Stahl trade. They announced the Stahl for Brandon Sutter deal and a first-round pick, and moments later made the pick, which was Pouliot.
That pick moved up 21 to 8 in that first round. And there was quite a run of defensemen in that draft.
Yes.
Pouliot, Trouba, Matthew Dumba was in that group.
Ekblad with it. Sends it down to the Swedish zone. The teams are back to 5-on-5. 3.5 to go in the third period. Reinhardt. That's Griffin Reinhardt. Ahead for Scott Lawton. Knocked away from him. And Reinhardt back to pick up the loose puck. And some slashing in behind the play. Kirby Reichel took a whack on the ankles from Nick Sorensen. Back the other way comes Beastrom. Ekblad steps up on him. And Patterson back to stop it for Lawton. Scott Lawton. Up for Reinhardt. And Griffin Reinhardt poke-checked at the line by Beastrom. And now Venberg kicked it back to Beastrom. His pass intercepted by Lawton. Nifty move at the line, plays it across. In comes Pellick with a chance. Then it Reichel up high. And now the puck bouncing down in front. And Reichel flips up wide of the goal. Bengtsson, who has one of the Swedish goals tonight, took a slash on the hands. The referee had a long look at that, but elected not to call a penalty. Swedes have 4 more cuts to make as Anton Carlson stepped across the line. And now brought ahead by Bigrov. Chris Bigrov, Owen Sound of the Ontario Hockey League, plays it across for Lazar. In shoots. And Holtberg has that. 2:10 to go here in the third period. We're back to Ängelholm, Sweden after this. Coaching staff from left, Brian McGill, and Brent Sutter and Benoit Grue will have some talking to do tomorrow before Canada's last pre-tournament game against the Swiss tomorrow night.
Do some discussions tonight about the lineup and the way that you'll configure it.
2 minutes left.
That's really all you have left. There's no players, there's no cavalry coming in for Canada. The Swiss played the Czechs in an exhibition game yesterday, beat them 3-2. In another venue close to Malmo.
Burakovsky, who's going to bear some watching in the upcoming World Junior Championship for Volmar. And Anderson steps into Burakovsky. And Lazar pokes out ahead for Gauthier. Frederick Gauthier got spun around there by Gustav Olofsson. And Olofsson has the loose puck for Sweden. For Volmar. And Pettersson with it for the Swedes as we approach 1 minute to go in the third period. Long pass ahead for Carlson. And Anton Carlson-Chuck was off the stick of Pelican wide. And Griffin Reinhart brings it ahead for Canada. Last minute of the third period. Udon for McDavid. And Udon-Chuck goes off a stick. Now we're going to stop it with 48 seconds to go.
Udon, one of those players in that group at the bottom of the roster right now. I don't know that anybody separated themselves today in a game when you could say probably almost everyone in the yellow jersey has had a great afternoon and not many in red have.
Now centering pass, Griffin Reinhart has Holberg down, trying to poke it home. Holberg still down. Anton Carlson on it. And Sam Reinhart steps into him. And now Sundqvist lifts it up to center ice, knocked down by Pelech. His pass goes off the leg. And the Swedes gather it up as Wallmark has it. Griffin Reinhart took his man Ludwig Nilsson down, and a penalty coming to Canada if it touches the puck again. And it won't. And the Swedes will win it by a final score of 3-0. So the host team with an impressive win over Canada. And no reason to think that Sweden won't be, at worst, a gold medal co-favorite. Final shots 34-21 in favor of the Swedes. Canada outshot Sweden 11-6 in the third period.
6 in Canada, 11.
So Marcus Holberg gets the shutout for the Swedes. Who beat the United States 4-2, and now Canada 3-0 in pre-tournament action. There are the game presentation. Jake Patterson, named for Canada, the 19-year-old from Mississauga, Ontario.
And Sweden, number 18, Andrei Burakovsky.
And Andrei Burakovsky is the player of the game for the Swedes. Three-0 the final score for Sweden. Let's send you back to James Duffy.